Hello there. This is your Sumi-e instructor, Mark. And today we're going to be talking about another really important basic thing that you should know as a beginning Sumi-e student. And that is controlling water. Probably the biggest problem that my beginning students have is that they are going to be making a wet mess. And it's because they have not learned yet, because no one told them, to control the water in their brush. The difference between a Sumie style painter and a watercolor painter is that the watercolor painters usually put some pencil lines down and then apply colors in layers. They let them dry. And they put one color at a time. They might be mixing some colors together, but they're doing layers. In Sumie, what we do is we are going to put the colors and the ink tones on the brush at the same time. So, and the stroke of it is going to be the important thing. The beauty of Sumie is going to come out by the sure stroke and the way the colors and the tones come off the brush. And if you don't noodle and fidget with it, you will get a pretty result. But the first hurdle you have to resolve is the problem of too much water. In Sumie, we use rice paper to paint on. The rice paper has a big benefit. It is inexpensive. Not only that, not only is it inexpensive, but in the same Sumie painting, I can sometimes paint on both sides of the paper. So when I'm doing my art, I can put a wash on the back and I can put the details in the front, and it's a big benefit. But one of the disadvantages is it's quite absorbent. So I'm just going to take a brush, a clean brush here, and I'm just going to show you. Well, okay, Sumie paper. All that water has just come in off my brush. Oh my gosh, look at that. It just goes all over the place. And now I've got a wet, I got wet paper, and it's thoroughly wet. And if I put down anything with any details, it's just going to kind of go all over the place. I will not have water control. I need to have water control early. Now, let's just review. I've mentioned this in a different video, but I'm going to repeat it here. When you start painting, you take your brush. That was a that's a dry brush that you haven't used in a little while. It's nice and dry, but it's too dry. So you don't just immediately dip this in the ink because it's still crusty and dry. Instead, you've got to take it and put it in your clean water container. Remember, I got a clean water container. I've got this one, the take my word for it, all the water in here is clean, but it's got compartments. I got a clean side, which I use to charge my brush, and I've got a dirty side container, which I use to wash the brush. Do not get those two confused and start trying to paint with your dirty brush water when you want fresh water. Meanwhile, you don't want to be trying to clean your brush in your clean water. Otherwise, you got to go back into the sink and get more fresh water. So keep those separate. Now, I take my dry brush, I put it in the clean water. I make sure that it is thoroughly wetted. You can even see if there's a little drop of water here. Good. The whole thing is uniformly wet. I don't have any dry spots. I can take this brush and move it around on my plate and make sure that it's uniformly moist. It's now I squeegee that out a little bit. I maybe take my paper towel, and now I've got a nice point. I got uniform moisture, not dripping, but uniformly moist hairs all the way up into the heel of the brush. Now, I'm ready to put some ink on. The ink I've got is on this ink stone. And I'm going to put it on. Oh, let's do it that way. Ready to go. All right, now I go to my porcelain plate. I keep harping on the fact that we need kind of a palette to mix the ink. Like so, I'm mixing the ink. And now what I want to do, I guess I could move this down here. How about that? And mix the ink a little bit like that. I got a preview. How good was my ink? Was my ink strong enough? Yeah, it looks strong enough because that's going to do that. Now, I'm now going to switch cameras. Okay. All right, so here we are. Here's my paper. I've got my paper weights, and I I have got proper brush, a proper amount of water on this brush. And the reason I know that is because I set it up that way. But if you're a beginning student, you might not know this. So I'm ready to paint. I can paint some nice leaves because my brush is properly loaded. But if I if I have too much water, well, that can happen. And this might be okay, but look at how this is spreading because there's too much water. It's too watery. Now, because I've been painting, this one's getting a little better, but I'm still getting these blooms and things like that. And I might not want that because it's too wet. So if I find my brush is too wet, I put too much water on, I just go back to my paper towel and I take off some of the water and then I add a little bit of ink and I'm back. And then I'm ready to paint again. Now, when my brush, suppose my brush is actually getting a little dry. Maybe I'm in winter in Wisconsin here, and the humidity is really quite low. So as I'm painting, my brush starts getting a little bit dry, even. It starts getting that scratchy look to it. Do I plunge my brush back into the water? No, I do a little, a little. I go back into my clean and I add just a little bit of water. I tip in a little bit of water and then I pick up because I've already got uniform moisture in my brush. I'm not going to wash out all that ink that I've already put in there I'm just going to add a little bit of water. And now I'm back to more control. So when you are painting, always remember to work on this. So here is my exercise for you to do at home. Your water control exercise. What you will need for this. You need water in your container. You need your ink, stone, or you can use bottle ink, but you can probably stick ink is and stone is good. Your plate, the all-important paper towel, which uh, you might put that in your left hand or close to your left hand, and you're going to take your brush and you're going to start with a clean brush. You're going to wash it out. You're then going to, after you wash your clean brush out, you're going to rub it against the end of the plate so that you're squeegeeing out some of the water. Then you're going to pick up some ink. Then you're going to go to your plate and mix it a little bit. And then, it looks a little wet yet. Squeegee a little bit more. And then if you find you still need, you can even dip it on the paper towel. Just dip the heel of the brush. That's kind of where all the water is. And you're ready to paint. And then I'd like you to just do some nice clockwise circles. You don't have to worry about doing a beautiful painting right now, but I want these circles to not be runny looking. Do a bunch of these and that way, and then just keep doing them until until you fill the page with them. And then when the brush starts getting a little bit scratchier because the water's out of it, just dip it again with a little bit of water and a little bit of ink and do this again. So your idea, and you can make these circles fine as you want. So the idea is to get you to the point where you are controlling the water. You are not making a drippy mess on your rice paper, because rice paper is very absorbent. Now, if you want the ultimate test, this is the ultimate test. Take your paper towel and see if you can write your name on the paper towel and have it be legible with ink, just the ink in the water. We don't want any blobs. This is even more absorbent than that. If you can put a few shapes on here and people will know what that is, you have mastered the art of what's on your brush. Now, next time we will start playing around with how to change the tones of these lines. But for now, let's just avoid a watery mess and make many beautiful circles. All right, thank you.